Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're transforming some incredibly wild biological data into a visual journey through nature's most mind-bending floral impersonations. We are looking at plants that don't just look like your average everyday flowers, they look like us, they look like animals, and honestly, some of them look like straight-up alien creatures. Let's dive right in.
Okay, so what do a replica of Darth Vader's mask, a flying duck, and a human brain all have in common? I mean, are your eyes playing tricks on you? Not at all. As you'll see throughout this explainer, they are all perfect, highly evolved disguises crafted entirely by flowers. And the craziest part? These aren't just incredible coincidences. They are highly calculated survival engines.
Section 1. The Dark and Macabre. From death masks to alien smiles. We're starting our journey right at the absolute extremes of botanical mimicry, where survival means looking either delightfully cheerful or deeply, deeply sinister. Take a look at these two wildly different flowers. They perfectly show how the exact same evolutionary goal, which is just pollination, right, can result in absolute extremes. On the left, you've got this terrifying death trap from Brazil. It mimics a skull, or kind of looks like Darth Vader's helmet, and it actually glows with this translucent membrane to fool carrion flies into thinking it's rotting flesh. Yikes. But then, on the right, look at this cheerful, happy alien from the harsh, windswept landscape of Tierra del Fuego. Charles Darwin actually discovered this one back in 1831. Because regular insect pollinators are super scarce down there, this plant uses a bright white smile to bait birds into doing the pollinating instead. So, what does this all actually mean? Well, the crucial point here is that these aren't just funny accidents of nature. This is biological illusion, a highly evolved physical disguise used to deceive a very specific audience. It's an evolutionary masterclass in getting exactly what you want by pretending to be exactly what your target is looking for.
Now this is wild. Think about the common Snapdragon. What's really interesting is how it changes its disguise from life to death. It starts out as this cheerful bloom that literally requires a strong bumblebee to muscle its way inside. But once it dries out, the seed pods completely transform into these perfect, bony, miniature skulls. It's so striking that back in medieval folklore, people actually hung these dried, skull-like stems in their homes as protective charms against evil spirits and witchcraft.
Moving right along to Section 2, Faces and Figures, Nature's Cheeky Sculptures. Let's see how this mimicry builds into complex anatomical shapes and even human figures.
Nature definitely has a sense of humor, right? Just look at this outrageous Mediterranean plant, the naked man orchid. It forms these tiny, anatomically precise human figures that leave absolutely nothing to the imagination. The ancient Greeks actually used this plant in traditional medicine for over 2,000 years. But there is a sobering takeaway here. Because it's so sensitive to environmental changes, this incredibly entertaining illusion is sadly becoming increasingly rare today.
To put this next one into perspective, it actually took over a decade of arduous expeditions in the Colombian Andes just to officially document the swaddled baby's orchid. When you look at this waxy white blossom, you literally see a perfect infant wrapped in cloth, just nestled right there in a botanical bassinet. And while it's a beautiful symbol of fertility for local communities, for insects, it's a trap. When a bug ventures inside, the hinge lip actually snaps shut, locking the bug inside just long enough to dust it with pollen before setting it free. Talk about a surprise! Okay, the monkey orchid is a masterclass in double-layered deception. Up high in the misty cloud forests of Ecuador and Peru, it presents this perfect, kind of annoyed-looking simian face. So that's the visual trick. But the olfactory trick? Instead of smelling like decay, which a lot of orchids do, it pumps out the sweet, fresh scent of ripe oranges. This one-two punch of a furrowed brow and a citrus scent is perfectly engineered to lure in unsuspecting fungus gnats. On to Section 3, Taking Flight. The avian impersonators. We've seen faces and human figures, but now this explainer takes to the skies with botanical illusions that beautifully mimic flight.
No way, right? Meet this unbelievable trap from Australia, the flying duck orchid. It's only about half an inch long, but it creates this shockingly lifelike silhouette of a duck mid-air. Why? Well, it's a highly specialized trap designed to trick male sawflies who think they're finding a mate. And what's even more fascinating is the biology happening underneath it all. This plant relies entirely on a secret underground symbiotic fungus just to exist, which makes it virtually impossible to grow outside its natural habitat. Now, imitating birds isn't just about looking pretty for us, it's highly functional survival. For instance, the green birdflower isn't just a stunning emerald hummingbird mimic. Aboriginal Australians have actually used its strong fibers for thousands of years. Then you have the vibrant parrot flower in Thailand, which deters herbivores who instinctively avoid eating animals. And the delicate white egret orchid, it doesn't just symbolize grace in Japan. Those fringed, wing-like petals literally act as physical stabilizers for nighttime hawk moths to hover and feed. How cool is that?
Section 4. Extraordinary Objects, the Bizarrely Familiar. Let's transition from flying creatures to stationary oddities, exploring flowers that impersonate everyday, tangible objects.
Nature's toolbox is just packed with a wild variety of disguises. The black bat flower uses these giant dark velvet bracts to absorb what little sunlight actually makes it through the dense jungle canopy. The Chinese lantern gives us an edible fruit wrapped in a husk that symbolizes ancestral spirits in Japan. The bright red lobster claw is this amazing example of mathematical coevolution, shaped perfectly to fit specific hummingbird bills. And then, there's the popcorn plant. It looks and smells exactly like fresh movie theater popcorn. But a quick warning, do not eat it. It is highly toxic and will send you straight to the emergency room.
40,000. Yeah, you heard that right. That is the massive number of brain Celosia plants that can grow from just a single ounce of seed. This plant folds and twists its velvet surface until it is almost indistinguishable from human brain tissue. And this convoluted structure isn't just some random accident. It actually maximizes the surface area for nectar, which efficiently draws in bees and lets the plant multiply at an absolutely astounding rate. So before we reveal our next two flowers, I really want you to ask yourself a question. When nature creates a beautiful, familiar shape, is it a gift for the viewer, or is it a prison for the pollinator?
Well, the answer lies in this really striking contrast. On one hand, the bleeding heart is gentle. It's a poetic, tear-dropping flower that generously provides crucial early-season nectar to hummingbirds before quietly vanishing into dormancy. But contrast that with the lady's slipper orchid. It looks like an elegant, satiny piece of footwear, but actually, scratch that. It's a one-way prison. Bees fall in and are literally forced to crawl tightly past the plant's reproductive organs, picking up pollen just to escape. Beauty, in this case, is definitely a trap. Just take a look at these angel's trumpets. I mean, they are massive, graceful, 20-inch blooms that hang down like ornate brass instruments. They require hovering moths to pollinate them. But there is a haunting reality behind all that beauty. Every single part of this plant is laced with dangerous, potent alkaloids. And tragically, despite their majesty, they are now completely extinct in the wild. They only survive today because we humans continue to cultivate them in our gardens. Nature using clickbait. Honestly, that is absolutely the best way to describe the viral hooker's lips flower. Before it fully opens, its bright red bracts fuse into this pouty, exaggerated pair of lips. It literally looks like a cartoon. But it's a highly effective visual beacon, flagging down butterflies and hummingbirds in the incredibly dense, crowded visual space of the tropical rainforest. It is quite literally nature using clickbait to guarantee survival. And that brings us to Section 5. Ultimate Evolutionary Artist, the Cosmic Finale. As we wrap up this explainer, we are looking at the ultimate masterclass in evolutionary geometry. Just look at the absolute alien geometry of the passion flower. It features perfect radial symmetry, with these filaments that ripple outward like sea anemone tentacles. But as we've learned today, this isn't just for our aesthetic pleasure. Those intricate, cosmic-looking filaments act as highly engineered landing strips and guides for effective pollinators like carpenter bees. And at the same time, they form a barricade to keep useless nectar thieves out. Pure genius.
So, pulling this all together, we can really clearly see the structured genius behind the madness here. The skullflower uses the guise of death to trick carrion flies. The swaddled babies use their innocent shape as a snap trap. The flying duck exploits the mating drive of male sawflies. And Hooker's lips uses sheer visual volume to act as a beacon. Each bizarre disguise we've explored today pairs flawlessly with an ingenious biological mechanism.
Well, that brings us to the end of our explainer. We've seen that in nature, beauty and function evolve hand in hand, but it leaves us with one final thrilling thought to ponder. If nature can sculpt skulls out of seed pods, shape orchids into flying ducks, and forge clickbait out of jungle leaves just to survive, what impossible biological illusion is evolving right now, deep in a rainforest, completely unseen, just waiting to be discovered? Keep your eyes open and never stop learning.